Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another Sunday meal prep video. If you're new here, welcome. My name is Christy. In this video, I'm going to be taking you along as I meal prep breakfast, lunch, dinner, and snacks for my husband and I for the week. For breakfast this week, I'm planning on prepping breakfast bowls, basically just chicken sausage, eggs, and potatoes all mixed together. And for lunches this week, I'm prepping bacon and turkey paninis. I have a couple dinners that I'm going to be pre-packaging for the week, and I also have a dinner that I'm going to be putting into kind of like a freezer meal, and that way it's going to be a dump and go the day that we have it. And finally, I'm going to be putting together some snacks for us. So if you want to see how I pull this all together, then stay with me.
Don't you know that you're beautiful? No matter what the scars, no matter what they say.
Alright, so I'm going to start again with housekeeping things. For my meal prep videos, I do get a large number of people who have found me through my meal prep. So I like to do a little bit of explaining how I do my meal prep. So if you're already a subscriber of mine, feel free to fast forward through this chapter of the video and move right on to breakfast. If you're new, thank you so much for clicking on this video. I hope you'll stick around. I hope you'll subscribe to my channel, and also make sure to click the notification bell so that way you're notified anytime that I upload new content. Basically, for my meal preps, I meal prep for my husband and I for just 3 days for the week. A lot of times things can happen. I don't prep for 5 days because it's just too much to prep, and also things could change throughout the week that might bump a meal. So I just do 3 days breakfast and 3 days lunch. And then for my dinners, I just basically do my own dinner kits. I put everything in the bag and have everything ready, portioned out, and it helps with portion control for us. I also list the points on here. That's because I'm currently following the WW Blue program, but I do provide the points for all 3 programs on my channel, and I will also list any recipes down in the description box, so that way if you're following some other weight loss program and you just need to get the nutritional facts from the website, you can get that as well. But with that being said, you don't really need to even be following any type of weight loss program to get tips and ideas from my channel as far as meal prepping, meal planning, and other things like that. So I hope that you'll stick around. And like I said, I will be linking all the recipes down in the description box below. And the other thing I do is list down in the description box below any items that I'm using that you see in today's video. So with the housekeeping out of the way, let's get started with meal prep. So before I get started with breakfast, I just want to ask, if you like these type of videos, please make sure to hit that thumbs up button down below. It lets YouTube know that you like my meal prep videos, which in turn does support my channel, and I greatly appreciate it. Alright, I'm going to get started with breakfast, and this week I'm doing breakfast bowls. I wasn't sure if I was going to use my normal chicken sausage breakfast bowls or something else, but since I'm using bacon for the lunches, I decided to go ahead and use chicken sausage for breakfast. So for this recipe, it comes out to 4 points on blue, 1 point on purple, and 8 points on green. So what I'm using for this is Never Any Country Style Chicken Breakfast Sausage. I get this at Aldi. I'm going to use all 7 links in this. And make sure that you're using the country style. They do have like a maple, I think it's maple something, so that one is higher in points. So make sure to use the country style. I am going to be using 12 eggs. A quarter of a cup of water in with the eggs. I just use that. I used to use milk. My mother always taught me to put milk in with my eggs, but I've been using water and I love how much more fluffier they come out. And finally, I'm going to use 2 cans of diced potatoes. If you get the ones from Aldi, they're actually whole potatoes. They're not diced. So when I get those, I just cut them up into small pieces. So the first thing I'm going to do is get my chicken sausage cut up. So if you have potatoes that are whole potatoes, you want to go ahead and get those cut up now. And for these, I'm just going to cut them into small pieces. Alright. Now I'm going to bring you over to the stove and we'll get everything started. Alright, I'm going to get my potatoes going, so let me get my pan heated up. I'm going to spray it with some olive oil spray. I just used the Misto. I actually just filled this, so we're going to see if it's going to spray right. Yeah, it's not really, it's kind of squirting. Sometimes when you just fill them, it just squirts out like that. But basically you just put oil in this and it's better than the commercial kind. And I might as well give my, yeah, so you can hear it, it's trying to come through. With my egg pan spray. So I'm just gonna take my potatoes and just drain them out. And I'm gonna add some pepper, some salt, and I'm gonna add some garlic and Italian herbs. So you can add whatever spices you want to yours. And because I've gotten questioned about this before, I got this at Aldi, and I think it was just kind of one of those Aldi finds. I don't think they sell these regularly. I wish they did. You could see what my favorite kind is. But I got that one, and I got this backyard barbecue one. Okay, so we're just gonna let those cook while we get the eggs ready. So I'm just gonna dump my water in there. And Jackie, I know I'm not using my Red Bull today. All right, so I'm going to just crack 12 eggs into the bowl. Give those a good whisk. I prefer using a fork to whisk my eggs. I don't know why. Alright, so those are going to take a few more minutes because I do like to get mine a little bit brown, but if you don't like them brown, you can just stop cooking them whenever you want. Keep in mind that these are going to be reheated, so you don't have to actually cook them all the way. Now what I'm going to do is just move those to the side, and I'm just going to add the chicken sausage just to get that a little bit browned. I probably should have used a little bit bigger pan, but this will work. I'll just have to keep stirring it around. Alright. Let that sit, and I'm going to start my eggs. So I already have the oil in my pan, which as you can see, it's beating up in my pan. And I'm going to add my eggs. And just cook up the eggs until they're done. I'm going to add a little bit of salt and pepper. Alright, so the eggs are done. So now I'm going to get them right into a bowl. And now my Red Bull comes into play. So I guess I should have used my Red Bull to begin with because I forgot I'm going to be weighing all of this. So the glass bowl was probably going to be too heavy for my scale. And we're going to end up just setting this aside and letting it cool. Now I'm just going to check on my potatoes, and as you can see, they're getting kind of brown. So I think that's going to be good. So now I'm just going to add those. Now, some people might ask why I don't just cook everything all together. That's just personal preference. For me, I like to cook my eggs separate because they seem to be more fluffy that way. Where if I put them all together, to me it just doesn't seem like they're as fluffy. But that's completely up to you. This is just how I make mine. But that's the great thing with my channel. It's just to give you ideas. But you have to do things for the way that you like them. You have to adjust. So just because I do it this way doesn't mean that you have to. We're going to mix everything together, and then I'm going to set that aside and let that cool down. And then once it cools, then I'm going to put the entire bowl on the scale and weigh the entire thing. I actually have the weight of my bowl written on the bottom, which I know this one is 180 grams. So I'll just weigh the whole thing and subtract that 180 grams. And then what I do is take that amount and divide it by 6, and then I know how much is going to go in each bowl. So let me set that aside and let that cool before we get it in the bowls. All right, while the breakfast is cooling down, I'm going to get my fruit washed. So I actually just used my OXO salad spinner to wash my fruits and vegetables, and I got some questions last week, so I figured I would show you it this time. So I just fill the whole, I keep the insert in there, and that way I can just pull the fruit out. So I have blackberries. Now I don't spin dry these because the berries are delicate. So I just put some cold water in there, dump my berries in there. And then I add some vinegar, and I do about 1 part vinegar to 4 parts water, which actually I need to refill my vinegar, but that should be enough. And then just mix that around and let it sit for a little bit. Okay, after it's been sitting a while, then just pull it up out of the water. And then just rinse them off and lay them on a paper towel or something, or some type of towel to let them dry off. And also, I've been questioned about the vinegar. The vinegar just basically gets any bacteria off of there. If you don't have vinegar, you can certainly use water. That's, I'm sure, going to work just as good. I've just always done that. All right, so it is cooled down now. While it was cooling, I went through and weighed out my sandwich meat for lunches. So I'll show you that in a minute. And got my dishes done. So now what I'm doing is weighing the entire thing in grams. Alright, so it's 1368, and it's probably going to keep going up because it is still a little hot. So I need to get my calculator because I can't figure, I think that's going to be what, 11, see, it's going to keep going up. So that's going to be what, 1188, I think. 1368 minus 180 is 1188, and then we're going to divide that by 6. So it's going to be 198 in each cup. So right around 200 grams in each bowl, or bowl, cup, whatever you want to call these. So let me show you how much that makes. So as you can see, it is a pretty decent portion. And I'm actually going to also be having fruit with my breakfast. So there we go. 198 grams. So pretty decent. I think these are 2-cup containers. Yeah, these are 2-cup containers. So that's a pretty decent portion for breakfast. And I will link these. I'll have these linked down in the description box as well. So I'm going to go through and weigh out the rest of them. So that one's 195. Close enough. Oh, actually, there was still a sausage in there. So there was the 198. So that's breakfast, and like I said, I'm going to do some fruit with those also, but I'll do those when I do the snacks. I'll portion those out when I do the snacks. So I'm going to put these away and move on to lunches. All right, so we are moving on to lunch. For lunch this week, I'm making bacon and turkey paninis. I'm so excited to have these. Now, one thing about pressed sandwiches is you can actually make these ahead and freeze them. So they stay good in your fridge for 2 to 3 days, and then if you're gonna be having them longer than that, then you wanna throw them in your freezer, and then just take them out and let them thaw out in your fridge overnight. So let me show you what I'm going to be having with these. So I am using this Publix oven roasted turkey breast. So for blue and purple, if you have oven roasted turkey breast and not like the honey kind or brown sugar type kind, then it's 0 points. On green, this is going to be 1 point. I'm using 4 ounces of turkey for each one. So while I was waiting for the breakfast to cool, I actually cleaned up, did my dishes, and portioned these all out. So I did go through and weigh them out. I'm on blue, so no, I don't necessarily have to weigh out the turkey, but a lot of times I do. Number one, I do it for those of you who are on green. I want you to kind of get an idea of exactly how much it is, but it's still about portion control for me, so I still like portioning it out and weighing it out. Even though it's 0 points, I still try to keep it down to a portion. So I just went through and weighed out 4 ounces. The other thing that I have is 3 slices of bacon. So the bacon I'm using this week is the fully cooked Oscar Mayer bacon. I usually get my bacon from Aldi and I cook it, but I wanted this kind because I'm not going to be cooking the bacon. I'm going to leave it the way it is like that. So this particular bacon is 2 points for 3 slices. So far with the turkey is 0, and then it's going to be 2 points for the bacon. Turkey on green is 1, so we're at 3 points for green, 2 points for blue and purple. The next thing I'm also going to add to it is 1 Velveeta slice, so that's going to add another point. Then I'm going to use, I think you can see my bread here, I use the Nature's Own sugar-free 100% whole grain bread. This bread is 1 point for 1 slice, or 2 points for 2 slices. So I'm going to be using 2 slices there, so we're going to have 2 points for the bread. The other thing I'm going to add that's going to give 0 points is I'm going to do 1.5 tablespoons of this G. Hughes sugar-free honey mustard. For this one, you can have 1 5/8 of a tablespoon for 0 points. So I'm going to do about 1.5 tablespoons on each sandwich. So just enough to give it a little bit of honey mustard flavor, but not enough to have to count a point. If you wanted to add a little more, you can actually have up to 5 tablespoons of this for 1 point. So for blue and purple, these are going to be 5 points, and for green, they're going to be 6 points. And then I'm probably going to pair them with some cottage cheese. These little cups are 2 points each. I get these at Publix, and we love these because they don't get real watered down like regular cottage cheese does. So these are going to be 2. So my lunch on blue is going to be 7 points total, which is a little bit higher of a lunch than I normally do. But my breakfast is only going to be 4 points. So it's going to be 11 points total between breakfast and lunch, which is pretty good, I think. So let me show you how I'm going to put these together. Let me just put this aside. So I think for this week I'm just going to do 1 on camera, and then I'll do the others off camera. A lot of times I like to keep the camera on and just do a fast time lapse throughout, like when I'm chopping and everything, because the reason I do that is I don't want to give a false sense of how long it takes to prep. So if I completely cut everything out, then it would seem to you all like, oh my gosh, it only took her 15 minutes to prep, and I don't want to give that false impression. So, because it does take me usually 2 to 3 hours to prep. Okay, so I'm going to be using my Hamilton Beach Panini press, and I think I have one of these in my Amazon shop. I will check, and I will link it down below if I do. So what I'm going to do is get it plugged in, get it hot. I'm going to give it a spray with some spray butter. You can use cooking spray if you want. I like to use spray butter on it. Then the next thing I'm going to do is spray my bread. And then if you know me, you know I'm going to add some garlic to that. So now I'm just going to sprinkle it with some of this garlic. Alright, so that's going to be the bottom. That's going to go on the press. So now I want to just measure out 1.5 tablespoons of the G. Hughes, just so that I can get an idea of how much it's going to be. Okay, so if it looks like if I just spread some on there, that's going to come out to 1.5 tablespoons. So that's about what I would use anyways. So 1.5 tablespoons is fine. So now I'm going to add my bacon. And my press is ready already. And I'm gonna add my cheese to the bread. And now I'm gonna add my turkey. Holy cow, this is gonna be a big sandwich. I usually only do 2 ounces of turkey on my sandwich, but with it being a panini, I really kind of wanted some extra. All right. And then put the top on there. And now I'm just gonna add it to my press. So there's actually enough room on here that I could do 2 sandwiches at the same time, but I'm just gonna do 1 because I wanna just show you what it's gonna be. But afterwards, I will end up doing 2 of them. I just kind of let it sit. I don't push it. You can actually push it and lock these on the side, you know, to where it's pushed down real flat, but I'm not gonna do that. I'm just gonna let it sit. So while that one's cooking, I'm going to move on to the next one. All right, and as you can see, that one is done. All right, looks like the other side didn't quite, I think the G. Hughes kind of sat there. Sometimes if you have like mayonnaise or anything down on the bottom, sometimes it does that where it doesn't quite, it's not really soggy, but it just doesn't brown as good. So I just flip it over when it does that. See, and that's why. See, this bread is kind of holy. It's airy. Not as airy as like the Sara Lee bread. Sara Lee bread is really airy. So that's why, if it's seeping through. You could actually add any mustard or anything at the end. All right, perfect. So I'm just gonna set that aside. And we're gonna get the next one going. So it actually beat me to it. So now I'm gonna do 2 at a time. So I'm just gonna shut off the camera now because you've seen me do 2 of them now. I don't think you need to see me do any more. So not as much music for you all to dance to this week. All right, so I'll come back once I have these all done. All right, so for the last ones, you have to really watch them because at this point, the panini maker is really hot. So now I'm gonna take my sandwiches and cut them all. And that is what they look like inside. So then to reheat these, honestly, you really don't even have to reheat them. You can just leave them, but if you want to reheat them, you could put them in the microwave. They won't be as crispy reheated unless you put them like in your air fryer or something. And then just put the yogurt in there, and there you go. So I'm going to leave it open for now though because it's still hot. All right, so that is it. You could pair this with any type of vegetables. You could put some vegetables, you know, put it in a 2-compartment container. So that is our lunches, and I'm really excited for these. All right, so I'm gonna set these aside now, and I'm gonna move on to dinners. All right, so I had to take a break and let my eyes breathe. I don't know what's going on with my contacts, but glasses are on. So I'm moving on to dinners, and this week I'm doing a little bit different. I have 2 kits that I'm putting together, but I also have for the meatloaf, I'm actually going to be putting that together. This is actually kind of like a crock pot freezer meal. In fact, I think this one, I have a video out there where I did 4 crock pot freezer meals from start to finish. So I'll be sure, if I remember, I'll try and link that down in the description box below. But this is that same exact recipe. So what I'm going to be doing for this one is putting the entire meatloaf together into this bag. So normally I use reusable bags, but for this one I'm going to use a regular bag because when I put it in my crock pot, I'm just going to cut the side open and plop it in there. So what I'm going to do is put this all together and then put it in my kit. So I'll show you that one after. I'll do that one last. So let me set that aside. The other two are real quick. So for anybody new, I've kind of mentioned to you how I do everything. So for this one, I'm going to be doing garlic parmesan salmon with rice and broccoli. So just going to take my broccoli, cut the stalks off, and not washing it, just putting everything right in the bag, and I'll wash it the night we have it. And I don't think I mentioned, my dinner kits are just enough for 2 portions. So it's just enough for my husband and I, and that's how we deal with the portion control. Then the next thing I'm gonna be doing is putting my toppings. So I already went through and put everything together. So for these dinner kits, it's not really meant to show you exactly what I'm making. It's just to show you how you can do your own dinner kits. So that's why I've already kind of put everything together, but I will have all the recipes down in the description box below. So I'll just kind of tell you what's in each one. So for this one, this is the topping for the salmon, and this salmon is just the regular salmon from Publix. And in this topping is 1/8 of a cup of panko breadcrumbs, 1/8 of a cup of regular breadcrumbs, and 1/8 of a cup of Parmesan. And actually there's a 1/2 teaspoon of Italian seasoning in here as well. And then I have a tablespoon of minced garlic and a tablespoon of light butter. And that is it for that kit. So that one is very easy. Like I said, I already mixed everything up. Like I said, just to show you how I do the kits. So that's it for that one. And for the rice on this, I just use the 90-second ready rice, so I don't put that in the package. That just goes in the microwave. So I just leave that in my pantry until that night. The next one I'm going to be doing is what I call chicken parm with roasted potatoes, peppers, and onions. It's basically chicken parmesan for the chicken, but instead of marinara, I use the diced tomatoes with chilies. So for this one, I'm doing peppers and onions with it, and I'm kind of debating. I think I might want to do a shallot. I'll do an onion. So I need peppers. I actually washed my peppers. So normally I don't wash my produce until that night, but I had to wash the peppers for the meatloaf. So I went ahead and washed all of them. So I think I'm gonna do, for the meatloaf, well, look at that one. For the meatloaf, I'm gonna do a red and a green. So I'll put the rest of them in here, and that is gonna fill this bag right up. And then my potatoes, I have some baby red potatoes that I need to get used up because they're growing ears. So I have about 8 ounces of potatoes. I know that I can have 4 ounces for 3 points. So I'm putting 8 ounces in there for both my husband and I. So that way I know it's just 3 points for the potatoes. The vegetables will be 0. And then the chicken parm is 4 points on blue and purple and 6 points on green. So for the entire dinner, it's gonna be 7 points on blue, 7 on purple, and 9 on green. So I just use the chicken breast like this. It comes in 5-ounce portions. They're already pre-packaged. So I need 2 of those. And the next thing I need is my toppings for the chicken. So in here I have 1.5 tablespoons of regular breadcrumbs, 1.5 tablespoons of panko breadcrumbs, and 1 tablespoon of Parmesan cheese. And then I have a 1/2 tablespoon of butter, light butter. I have 1.5 ounces of part skim polio mozzarella, and my green chilies. So that's it. We're not gonna fit anything more in that one. And in fact, I think I'm gonna have to take a pepper out. 2 peppers might be enough. Okay, we're just gonna put it like that, and then I'll just put the can with it. The can will have to go next to it. Sometimes you can't fit everything in the bag, and that's fine. Okay, so that bag is done. So now, that's how I normally do my dinner kit. But like I said, one night I'm doing meatloaf, so I am going to get this into loaf form and have it ready for a dump and go. So for this one, I'm using 1.5 pounds of ground turkey breast. If you used the regular ground turkey, or if you use ground beef, that is going to increase the points. And Just to let you know, when you do ground turkey breast in the slow cooker, it does kind of come out a little bit more dry than a normal meatloaf would. The flavor is really good, but it is a little bit more dry because there's just not fat in the turkey. So if you wanted to add a little bit of regular ground turkey to it, you could definitely do that, but just make sure to account for the points. All right, let me get the recipe for this one. So I have my 1.5 pounds of turkey breast in there already. To that, I'm gonna add, this is a mixture of half a teaspoon of salt, half a teaspoon of pepper, half a teaspoon of ground sage, 1 teaspoon of oregano, and half a teaspoon of ground mustard. The next thing I have is a 1/4 cup of Velveeta shreds. I have 1/3 cups of breadcrumbs. And I just use the Italian seasoned breadcrumbs on that. And then about a half a tablespoon, of garlic. I love garlic. And then after that, I'm gonna cut up a shallot and a green pepper and a red pepper. And I don't know if I'm gonna use that much pepper. I think I might just do a half of one because I don't like a whole lot of pepper in my meatloaf. Gonna be enough. And one other thing, if you don't like the onion in it, now when I would make this when my kids were little, they did not like to bite into onion, so I would use onion powder. Now that they're grown and on their own, I'm back to using regular onion. And if you don't have shallot, you can use a regular onion as well. And the last thing we're gonna need is 1 egg. You will also need 1 tablespoon of Worcestershire sauce. I forgot to add this in while I was doing it, so I'm just gonna let you know, I'm gonna break into this video right here and let you know that you also need a tablespoon of this. So I'm gonna go back to the video and you're gonna see I realize it afterwards. And then just mix it all up. And I'm a dig your hands in kind of girl, so if this grosses you out, just fast forward a little bit. Alright, after that is all mixed together and your hands are washed, now I'm just going to pour it into my bag. Sometimes these bag holders help a little bit. Perfect. And then the next thing I'm going to do is just try to form it into a loaf in the bottom of the bag. And I wrote on the bag the instructions, which I have to be careful because I actually wrote it with the dry erase marker. I was using the dry erase marker on these, but this one I should use permanent marker. But I just write the instructions, cook on low 6 to 8 hours. And then I wrote the points for the meatloaf. It's 2 blue, 2 purple, and 3 green. That's just for the meatloaf. But I decided to make a kit out of it. I originally was gonna do mashed potatoes and Brussels sprouts with these, but I have some zucchini and squash in my fridge that I want to use up. So I'm going to do zucchini and squash lime crema with that, which I've made that before, I think a couple weeks ago. You just roast the zucchini and squash and put a mixture of light sour cream and lime juice, and then just put it over the top of it. Alright. And also, this makes enough for 6 servings. So if you want, if it's just you, you could actually split this in half and put half of it in your freezer, and then you would just have 3 servings worth. I am going to make enough for 6, and because we are going to have this 2 nights. We're going to do it Wednesday night and Thursday night. Alright. So then what I'll do, and to slide it into my crock pot, I'll just cut the end and then just plop it in there that way, so I'm not trying to put it all out. So at this point, if you wanted to make a freezer meal out of this, this is what you would do, and just lay it in your freezer like this. Super easy. Alright, so I don't think I'm going to have potatoes that night. I think I'm just gonna have the vegetables and the meatloaf. I'll decide. If I have potatoes, I'm just gonna use the instant potatoes. Like, I think it's like Idahoan. They're 4 points for half a cup. So, but I think I'm just gonna do the vegetables and the meatloaf. So I have zucchini and squash. Man, that's a big squash. And then I have 2 ounces of light sour cream, and then a lime, and my meatloaf. And again, we're gonna have another one. That's not gonna fit real good. I just don't want to ruin the form of the meatloaf. All right, that was a tight squeeze, but we got it. So that's it for that one. So that's how I do my dinner kits. So I got the meatloaf together and realized I forgot to put the Worcestershire sauce in. So I usually use a tablespoon of this in the meatloaf. What I will do, the good thing about this is I can very easily just pour a tablespoon over the meatloaf. It'll kind of soak down into it. But yes, usually I put a tablespoon of that in there as well. All right, you knew I wasn't gonna make it through this whole thing without something going wrong, right? So now I am going to get my snacks together. I have my fruit that I've washed, so I'm putting that in cups. And I'll show you what I do with my pretzels, because I am going to try and attempt to have pretzels this week and control myself. So let me clean up a little bit and then I'll move on to snacks. This week I have some apples that I just washed. I have our 2-point puddings. I have mandarin oranges, which I think I'm going to do the mandarin oranges with the breakfast. And then I have my blueberries and blackberries. So I've already put those into containers. So the last thing I have for snacks this week is pretzel crisps. I have pretzel crisps with a wedge of Laughing Cow cheese. So I've already weighed these out. You can have 29 grams for 3 points, and then it's 1 point for the wedge. So I portion them out like this. That way I'm not so tempted to overeat on them, because pretzels and chip type things are really hard for me. It's really hard for me to have portion control. So I actually stopped eating these for a while because I just was having a hard time controlling myself with them. So I'm gonna try again. So that's all I do. I just made 3 of them throughout the week. I won't eat these every day. So I'll have these and then all our fruit. So that's it for this week for snacks. Hardly anything to do. So let me clean up, put everything out, and I'll show you what we ended up with this week. All right, here is meal prep. I'm excited this week because I know what everything tastes like. I've had it all before, so I know we won't have a week like last week. So down here with my snack tray, I have some apples, and since I had the vinegar and water going, I went ahead and washed up my apples. So usually when I buy apples, I just throw them down in the crisper, and then when I go to grab one to eat, then that's when I wash it. But I already washed it, so I'm just gonna keep them in this tray. And then I have some mandarin oranges, our 2-point snack pack puddings, some bananas, and then my pretzels with my Laughing Cow cheese. So these are all 0, 2 for the pudding, and then 3 points for the pretzels and 1 point for the cheese wedge. And then I have my blackberries and blueberries, which I think that's what I'm gonna have with the breakfast. And then I'll do this just kind of for snacks throughout the day. So breakfast, again, the chicken sausage breakfast bowls. These are 4 points on blue, 1 point on purple, and 8 points on green. And then for lunch, these look so good. I have one just kind of standing up just so you can see what it looks like in there. So these are the bacon and turkey paninis, and these ended up being 5 points on blue and purple and 6 points on green. And then I've added a cottage cheese cup, which those are 2 points. So my lunch on blue will be 7 points. So blue and purple, the lunch is 7 points, and then green, it's 8 points. And then I have my dinner kits for the week. Like I said, the crock-pot barbecue glazed meatloaf is a dump and go. So that morning I will just get up and dump it in the crock pot, and then I'll have to do my zucchini and squash when I get home. So that for the entire kit is 4 blue, 4 purple, and 5 green. And then the kickin' chicken parm with roasted potatoes, peppers, and onions. Again, for the entire kit, 7 blue, 7 purple, and 9 green. And then the garlic parmesan salmon with rice and broccoli. So this one for the entire kit is 5 points on blue, 5 points on purple, and 10 to 12 points on green, depending if you use farmed or wild-caught salmon, and also depending on how much you have of it. Okay, everyone, so we got my dogs in the background for this ending. So if you're still here, I want to say thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Make sure to give this video a thumbs up. Put any comments down below. Let me know how you're doing with your meal prepping. And again, as I always say, you do not have to do anything this big. You could do something very simple like cutting fruits and vegetables, and that is meal prepping. So again, if you're new, I hope you'll subscribe to my channel. Thank you all so much for watching. I hope you have a wonderful week. I'll see you in my next video. I'm Christy, and I'm planning us healthy. Welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another meal plan and grocery haul video. No, pretty sure this is a meal prep. I don't even know what I'm doing anymore. Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Welcome to another meal plan and grocery haul video. I did it again! For breakfast prep, I'm planning on doing breakfast bowls. I'm gonna just use some chicken sausage with those, keep the points down.
Hi!